Welcome and thanks for joining us for North Metro TV News. I'm Danica Peterson. Following up on a story we first brought you last week, the debate over who controls what part of which water system continues between the cities of Blaine and Lexington. Last week, Blaine brought a lawsuit against Lexington, and this week, Blaine leaders told me that they did that, in part, to force the city of Lexington to talk with them. A lawsuit filed last week in district court by the city of Blaine alleges that the city of Lexington won't give Blaine access to part of the Blaine water main that runs through Lexington. Blaine Mayor Tim Sanders says that he and city staff have been trying to work through the ownership of this water main for years, and now the city is asking the court to act as a third party to help solve the dispute.
What the city of Blaine is asking for around a legal framework and clarity of ownership and access is something that, elected officials and adults should be able to sit around a table and figure out. But, to this point, we haven't been able to, so we're really leaning into that third party.
For Sanders, he says that this suit is first about ownership of and access to the water system.
We're not suing over damages or anything like that. We're just saying we really need to get to the bottom of this. We've been having this argument for decades, right? And the status quo is just not acceptable anymore.
And beyond that, Sanders says that Blaine just simply does not want Lexington's water mixing with theirs.
And ultimately, this is about keeping our community safe. The city of Lexington knowingly is pumping water that does not meet federal and state environmental standards. And they're pumping it directly into their water system, and they're pumping it into the Blaine water system, which we don't consent to. Unfortunately, they just refuse to have the conversation and literally are holding on to handshake and wink agreements, from back in the 70s, which just isn't how we do things anymore. And I understand a little bit, Lexington's a smaller city. Blaine doesn't have that luxury anymore to do things the way that a small city does things.
He says that he hopes to have this situation resolved as soon as possible, and that he welcomes and looks forward to Lexington's response.
If the city of Lexington wanted to sit down and work towards a resolution, that offer remains open.
We will continue to follow the story as it develops in court.